Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. It was denied for years by the Egyptian authorities, but beneath the Giza plateau, under the pyramids and the Sphinx, is a huge labyrinth of ancient caves and tunnels, some of which are said to date back to 15,000 years. It's an enormous underground world that has been conveniently kept away from the history books, but the entire region of Ancient Memphis, now Giza, sits on top of countless underground chambers and secret tunnels. Not far from Giza, at Fayum Oasis, Herodotus once described the existence of an incredible labyrinth, which, according to his writings, was an endless wonder. He tells us that it was an impressive size, containing 1,500 rooms and subterranean chambers, and how it was already off limits to him more than 1,500 years ago. But Herodotus was certainly in awe, and he wrote, "There I saw 12 palaces, regularly disposed, which is communication with each other, interspersed with terraces and arranged around 12 halls. It is hard to believe they are the work of man. The walls are covered with carved figures, and each court is exquisitely built of white marble, and surrounded by a colonnade. Near the corner, where the labyrinth ends, there is a pyramid, 240 feet in height, with great carved figures of animals on it, and an underground passage by which it can be entered. I was told very credibly that underground passages connected this pyramid with the pyramids at Memphis." Herodotus even wrote about a massive multi-level megalithic complex beneath the pyramids at Giza, said to have been at least 15,000 years old, and many other authors have supported his writings. In his famous book, On the Mysteries of the Egyptians, Iamblichus, a 4th century Syrian philosopher, wrote about an entranceway through the body of the Sphinx into the Great Pyramid. He said, "This entrance, obstructed in our day by sands and rubbish, may still be traced between the forelegs of the crouched colossus. It was formerly closed by a bronze gate, whose secret spring could be operated only by the Magi. It was guarded by public respect, and a sort of religious fear maintained its inviolability, better than armed protection would have done. In the belly of the Sphinx were cut galleries leading to the subterranean part of the Great Pyramid. These galleries were so artfully crisscrossed along their course to the pyramid that, in setting forth into the passage without a guide through the network, one ceasingly and inevitably returned to the starting point." A Sumerian tablet talks of the abode of the gods as being an underground place, entered through a tunnel, its entrance hidden by sand and by what they call Huana, his teeth as the teeth of a dragon, his face the face of a lion. Some believe this is a clear reference to the original Sphinx, before its head was reshaped to how we see it today. 1st century Roman historian Pliny wrote that deep below the Sphinx is concealed the tomb of a ruler named Harmachis that contains great treasure, and interestingly, the Sphinx itself was once known as the Great Sphinx Harmachis, who mounted guard since the time of the followers of Horus. The 4th century Roman historian Ammianus Marcellinus made more disclosures about the existence of subterranean vaults that led to the Great Pyramid, saying, "Inscriptions which the ancients asserted were engraved on the walls of certain underground galleries, and passages were constructed deep in the dark interior to preserve ancient wisdom from being lost in the flood." The Giza Plateau is well known for having a huge underground cave network that is composed of both man-made tunnels and chambers, as well as subterranean rivers and passages, which have been mapped using ground-penetrating radar since 1978. Many have speculated their size, with some claiming that the chambers are larger than the world's biggest cathedrals, and that the legendary City of the Gods may in fact be a massive structure located beneath the surface. There is also a manuscript written by Al-Tlemceni and currently housed in the British Museum, which details an extensive underground passage built between the Great Pyramid and the River Nile, with what he calls a strange thing blocking the Nile entrance. He says, "In the days of Ahmed ben Tulun, a party entered the Great Pyramid through the tunnel, and found in a side chamber a goblet of glass, of rare colour and texture. As they were leaving, they missed one of the party, and, upon returning to seek him, he came out to them naked and laughing, and said, 'Do not follow or seek for me,' and then rushed back into the pyramid. His friends perceived that he was enchanted." Upon learning about strange happenings under the pyramid, Ahmed ben Tulun expressed a desire to see the goblet of glass. During the examination, it was filled with water and weighed, then emptied and reweighed. He wrote that it was found to be the same weight when empty as when it was full with water. In the 10th century, Masudi wrote about fascinating mechanical statues with amazing capabilities, which stood as guards preventing anyone from entering the subterranean chambers located beneath the Great Pyramid. These mechanical statues were supposedly programmed to destroy all, except those who by their conduct were worthy of admission. Masudi also said that written accounts of wisdom and acquirements in different arts and science were hidden deep, that they might remain as records for the benefit of those who could afterwards comprehend them. He also said, "I have seen things that one does not describe for fear of making people doubt one's intelligence, but still, I have seen them." These are obviously ancient texts, but even more recent writings have discussed the cavities, chambers and tunnels beneath Giza, especially beneath the Sphinx. There are also a number of entrances, one in the top of the head, sealed by a metal trapdoor, one in its back, and another to the rear, in which Zahi Hawass was famously filmed. The stone that covers the rear entrance is lighter in colour than the other stones, and it is also removable. In 1935, a magazine article written by Hamilton M. Wright talked of a discovery beneath the Giza sands, and was accompanied by photos by Dr. Selim Hassan. He said, "We have discovered a subway used by the ancient Egyptians. It passes between the causeway leading between the second pyramid and the Sphinx. It provides a means of passing under the causeway from the Cheops pyramid to the pyramid of Khufu. From this subway, we have unearthed a series of shafts leading down more than 125 feet, with roomy courts and side chambers." Around the same time, more information came to light and made international news, saying how the apartments and subways were excavated out of solid living bedrock thousands of years ago. In the past century, 4 enormous vertical shafts were also discovered on the Giza Plateau, and are now dubbed Campbell's Tomb. The shafts led to spacious rooms, which contain huge basalt and granite sarcophagi. There are further shafts and chambers that go down as far as 40 metres into the bedrock, terminating in a chamber, flooded with water, that partly covers a solitary white sarcophagus, dubbed the Tomb of Osiris. In the 1940s, archaeologists reported on their bewilderment when they stated that the caves under Giza were like a beautifully planned vast underground city. They mentioned on record how it contained temples, pastel-painted peasant dwellings, workshops, stables, and other buildings such as a palace. They stated it was complete with hydraulic underground waterways, with a perfect drainage system. This particular observation, to me, provides a strong link between the subterranean chambers and the pyramids. As I've said in previous videos, I believe the Egyptian pyramids, although possibly having a number of different functions, depending on the layout of their internal chambers, were part of a water management system. Each pyramid also has known subterranean passageways, and as we have seen, ancient writers have stated that they were linked to the vast underground network of caves. As well as linking to the pyramids, the cave systems are believed to link up with the River Nile, as well as large volumes of water such as Lake Moeris. 2 large pyramids once stood inside this lake, and when Herodotus came to Egypt, these pyramids were recorded as having 2 colossal seated figures on top. This is also shown in a pre-1851 engraving. But I'm not surprised that pyramids were built in the middle of an ancient lake, because I strongly believe that Egyptian pyramids were originally part of a vast ancient water management system. Entrances into the ancient Giza tunnel systems can be seen across the landscape, whether horizontal openings or deep vertical shafts. They are everywhere, but today they are totally off limits to the public. According to author Stephen Mailer, the tunnel system extends as far south as the Bent Pyramid in Dashur. So here again, we see evidence of yet more pyramids being connected to the cave system. Of course, a number of recent explorers have been into the Egyptian caves, such as researcher Andrew Collins, and they also film their adventures, which can be viewed on YouTube. In Andrew's footage, the caves he explored do look relatively crude and add credence to the idea that they were at least in part originally functional for the transportation of water, but he clearly didn't reach the documented city-like caves that were for human occupation. Officially, you are not allowed into the labyrinth, and authorities still deny the scale of the underground network. In fact, until recently, they tried to deny its existence altogether. Anybody that researches ancient Egypt knows that the pyramids, the Sphinx, and the labyrinth of caves are far more ancient than orthodox textbooks teach, and so covering up the cave network is obviously a way to conceal the truth. And what is the truth? The more I research Egypt, the more the true picture is emerging. I have already made videos on my ideas that the Great Pyramid was originally a water pump, and how the site of the Pyramid of Menkaure was once an ancient reservoir, as well as the unfinished pyramids at Zayat el Arian and Abu Rawash, but I am gradually adapting my hypothesis the more I research, and I have always said that my research is a work in progress. Although I once believed that the first pharaoh Narmer built the Giza pyramids, I now think they are in fact way older. The hypothesis that I am working to now is that the pyramids and the cave systems were part of one huge construction program. They are almost certainly ancient pre-dynastic structures. I believe that the huge cave systems were dug in part for the management of water, but also for human occupation, as ancient writers and researchers claim. A lost ancient civilization created a vast underground city with a highly advanced water management system. But why was there a need to build this vast city, and why build it underground? There must have been a reason to move the population out of harm's way. There must have been a looming large-scale crisis, and there was. A comet was on course to strike Earth. The pyramids were an integral part of this building project. Not only was the Great Pyramid built to preserve the scientific, mathematical and engineering achievements of humanity with the sacred geometry, ratios and astronomy built into the structure, it also functioned as a machine, pumping water through the underground city and possibly generating electricity, which could have been used to light the man-made underworld. Maybe the reason we never found any proof of electrical items in ancient Egypt is because the presumed Giza power plant was never intended for use above ground, and it was never in use in dynastic times. By then, the Great Pyramid was a ruin. Remember the mechanical statues mentioned by Masudi? Maybe this is an example of some of the ancient machinery, and what were the things he saw that he didn't want to describe in case he was ridiculed? Ancient high technology? In its current form, my video about the Pyramid of Menkaure no longer works for my overriding hypothesis. After more research and critical thinking, I now believe the pyramid was built in one stage, but I also believe it was a kind of reservoir. It is strange that the pyramids of Khafre and Menkaure have no chambers inside, but I believe that this is because the limestone they are made from acted as reservoirs. They were built to be man-made aquifers, like man-made mountains that would have been able to store and filter huge volumes of water. The granite casing stones at the bottom of the Menkaure pyramid would have also surrounded the Khafre pyramid in a similar manner, to ensure at least part, if not all of the structure, could act as an aquifer, trapping the water. Evidence of granite casing stone on the lower levels of the Pyramid of Khafre can be seen, but not as obviously as on the Menkaure pyramid. This isn't as far-fetched as it may sound, as many natural mountain ranges contain aquifers that are exploited by surrounding populations. Table Mountain holds billions of cubic meters of water. I would guess that if we could actually see the full internal structure of the Khafre and Menkaure pyramids, we would see exactly how this would work. If the River Nile and Lake Moeris became tainted with acid rains after the comet impact, the ancient civilization would need a way to ensure fresh, clean water. But why a pyramid? Why this particular shape? Well, after spending a decade researching this type of structure, Ukrainian physicist Dr. Volodymyr Krasnolovets discovered that water inside a pyramid remains liquid to -40 degrees Celsius. Therefore, if the world would enter a nuclear winter, the only place you could store high volumes of liquid water would be inside a pyramid. The physicist found 12 different phenomena associated with this structure. They improve the regeneration of tissue, help combat infection by viruses and bacteria, and boost the immune system of all organisms. Therefore, the sarcophagus inside the Great Pyramid would have been an ideal place to lie in if you were particularly unwell. Also, seeds stored inside a pyramid for 1 to 5 days show a 30 to 100% increase in yield. Furthermore, seismic activity near pyramids is reduced in severity and size, and violent weather also decreases in the vicinity of these structures. Capacitors have also been found to spontaneously charge inside. If you are going to create 3 giant structures above your underground dwelling place, 1 to pump water and 2 to store water, yes, you could make them any shape, but if you were intelligent enough, you would create them as pyramids, as they offer so many natural benefits to a society that will be fighting for survival against nature. In fact, you would make them 8-sided pyramids like we see at Giza, as this adds extra strength, a truly incredible engineering feat. They knew that when the cataclysm happened, they would not be able to go above ground, and so the pyramids have subterranean chambers to link up with the cave network. People could enter them without having to leave the underground city. Remember, this was an advanced civilization that went underground to save themselves. There probably was a hall of records beneath the Sphinx. The Great Pyramid probably did generate electricity and pump water. People could enter it for curative properties, whilst the other two were huge man-made aquifers. And all the pyramids were encoded with advanced geometry, maths, science and astronomy. And I think finally we now know why. Because there was a global cataclysm 12,800 years ago, when multiple fragments of a giant comet struck the Earth or exploded above the surface. The impact caused rapid heating and melting of the ice caps, but it then set in train a kind of nuclear winter and a period of deep cold and darkness that lasted until 11,500 years ago. It is this period of extreme cold that is often referred to as the Younger Dryas. The underground labyrinth and the amazing pyramids were built for the survival of humankind, to preserve the people and their advanced knowledge for 1,300 years of chaos. And if they didn't make it, if the people hadn't survived, then it is likely that the colossal stone structures would have. And that is why they were encoded with sacred knowledge. They were a time capsule. It is no surprise to me that advanced structures like Göbekli Tepe appeared at the end of the Younger Dryas, and why pyramid structures began to spring up on every continent across the world. The Giza project must have been a success, and the ancient advanced civilization and their knowledge was preserved. From Egypt they re-emerged when the conditions were right, and that is why we see evidence of advanced cultures that seemingly evolved from nowhere. Herodotus said the caves were 15,000 years old. 4th century Roman historian Ammianus Marcellinus said they were to conserve ancient wisdom during the flood. Masudi talks about the different arts and science hidden there as records for later people, and that he saw indescribable things. We need to listen to these ancient writers and connect the dots. They knew the truth, and soon everybody will. The only way to prove it is to give modern researchers free access to the caves of Giza, and I have no doubt that the discoveries would change the world. All the history books and all the research that has been done in the past 100 years will be quickly proved wrong, and the history of humanity will have to be rewritten. The cover-up in Egypt is an international scandal. Free access needs to be granted so we as humans can learn our true history. The pyramids of Egypt and the underground city was the true Noah's Ark, and in actual fact, this could well be true. Just look at this door panel found on a baptistry in Florence, Italy, created by Lorenzo Ghiberti in 1401. An art historian told researcher Jesse Waugh, who took this photo, that the scene depicts the opening of Noah's Ark after the waters receded. It is believed that a wise Benedictine monk instructed the artist, and what we are clearly seeing is people, birds and animals leaving a pyramid, as well as people exiting what could be a cave. Is this the truth behind Noah's Ark? New high-resolution imagery of the Dead Sea Scrolls has also revealed that according to Dr. Alexei Yuditsky, Noah's Ark had a pointed roof and was in the shape of a pyramid. And finally, in 1922, Dr. William Randolph published this in British and American newspapers, and he certainly believed the same as I, that the pyramids and caves of Giza were built to save humanity many thousands of years ago, and that was the truth behind the story of Noah's Ark. Whether or not the story of Noah's Ark is related to the Giza project is open to debate, but the construction works that took place at Giza were certainly the pinnacle of human achievement, and they were built before the end of the last ice age from the time before. It was a project to conserve and save humanity through what was expected to have been a possible extinction-level event. Today, a select few know the truth. They know why the pyramids were built and what lies beneath the sands of Giza. They have full access to the ancient knowledge, science, technology and wisdom, and it has been purposefully kept from the masses for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Knowledge, as we know, is true power. Thank you for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.